For this installation video, we'll be installing the Daytona Twin-Tech Twin Tuner fuel controller into a 2010 Softail. And the Twin Tuner is designed for your basic Stage 1 modifications, pipes, and a high-flow air cleaner. The modes represent different operating ranges of the engine. And you have 9 different modes there that you can select. And then once you select that operating condition, then you can use these buttons to change the values. The values represent percentage of fuel added or taken away. Now when you unbox it, this is what you get, the actual controller. The ends are already terminated, and then you also get a Deutsch connector. And again, a pretty simple install. We do have a recommended settings chart in the instructions that are included with the kit, and that works for you 95% of the time. And also allows quick, easy adjustment here to tweak during a test ride. But this can also be custom mapped. So if for individual for the front and rear cylinder. So if you have the USB interface and our Twin Scan diagnostic tool and tuning aid, then the Twin Scan will actually create a custom fuel map that you can upload into the system. But again, for this one, with pipe and high flow, we've got a really good idea of what we need to do to the fuel. So we're going to get started with the installation. First thing we want to do is disconnect the battery cable. Next, we need to get into the ECM connector. It's pretty tight in here, so the easiest way for us to do that will be just to remove the ECM and then unplug the connector. Okay, once you have the ECM disconnected from its mounting location, you can unplug the ECM, set it off to the side. And we need to access 5 terminals inside the ECM connector and release those. And then install the terminated connectors from the Twin Tuner into those slot into those slots. So the way to do that, we've got our clear retention bar here. We're just going to take a very small screwdriver and press in on the tab to release it. Now I need to locate 5 different pin locations. Okay, I'm looking for pin number 3, pin 13, pin 19, pin 21, and pin 24. Now the easiest way to get to these, of course, we're going to cut this zip tie and open the connector. Alright, to split the connector open, you'll notice there's very small tabs on each half of the connector. Again, a very small screwdriver to gently pry those open and split them apart. Okay, once you have the connector split open, we need to access the 5 wires at terminal 3, 13, 19, 21, and 24. You'll notice on the back, on the inside of the connector, they're clearly numbered here. On this particular model, it did not come with a factory tachometer, so your terminal 3 has a blue plug in it. So we'll only be removing 4 wires from this one. And the way to do that on terminal 3, we'll start with that one. To remove the plug, is to start with a small screwdriver, and it'll slide right out. For the remaining wires, it's as simple as taking this small tab that you'll see here. I like to tuck my fingernail under it and just barely pull it back and push on that particular terminal that I've marked, knowing that I need to remove that one. This makes it much easier to see. So you can see we've removed the 4 wires here, and we're going to refer to the chart in the instruction sheet to know where these wires get plugged into the Twin Tuner Deutsch connector. Okay, here we've got our 6-pin Deutsch connector. The first one we're going to start with is our white and black wire, and that's going to go to terminal 1 in the Deutsch connector. Once we're certain we've got all these wires secured in the proper location and the terminals are wired up properly, we can drop the lock in there. Now for the terminated ends on your Twin Tuner harness, we're going to be plugging these in to the ECM connector. Alright, so we're going to start with our blue wire. It's going to go to terminal 3. Now that you have all the wires clicked into place, you want to double check and make sure that they're actually on top of the shoulder with the small retention fingers on here. The only time I've ever heard anyone having a problem with the twin tuner on a no start type condition has always went back to these terminals not being pushed in all the way. So just make sure they're in all the way. Once you do that, you can reinstall the retainer clip. And then we'll snap our ECM connector back together. Once you have that snapped back together, reinstall your zip tie. And at this stage, we can plug the ECM connector back into the ECM and reinstall the screws. Now that we have the screws installed on the ECM, the only other connection that we need to make is to the 6-pin connector to the tuner onto the Deutsch connector we installed previously, and then we're going to install the ground wire. You'll notice this other wire. This is actually for our PC Link tuning software. Again, if you had the TwinScan tuning aid system, then this is where you would plug in and access it to download your custom apps. But on this particular application, we're not going to be doing that, and this can just be tucked away. I would recommend wrapping a small piece of electrical tape around this just to keep from getting water in there. Now we can plug in the 6-pin connector from the twin tuner into the Deutsch connector that we previously installed and reconnect our positive battery cable. Okay, now that we've got everything connected, we're going to go through each parameter and change the fuel values. The way we're going to do that is just turn the bike on. You'll notice the display is not lit. Parameter 0 prevents the system from inadvertently being adjusted and actually turns the adjustments off. So to start your adjustments, turn the run switch on. You'll see it light up. All right, so parameter 1 is going to be your idle at 750 to 1250 RPM range at 0% throttle. Okay, I'm going to add 2% fuel on that parameter. Then we switch to parameter 2, which would be low cruise from 1250 to 2000 RPM and 2.5 to 50% throttle, and we'll add 5% fuel in that range. And then we'll continue on following the chart that has the recommended settings on it, included with the instructions. Another feature of the twin tuner on parameter 9 is your acceleration enrichment. Because we have leaned it out quite a bit with the install of the slip-ons and the high flow air cleaner to give it a good crisp throttle on parameter 9, which again is your acceleration enrichment. I'm going to give it 4% more fuel. Once I have these values programmed in, I flip it to 0 and it deactivates the adjustment. We're going to turn the switch off. Now that we've waited a couple of seconds, we're going to turn the ignition switch back on. We'll hear the fuel pump cycle. Confirm we have no check engine light. Make sure the run switch is on run, and we're going to hit the start button. Okay, of course we started the bike, we verified there's no check engine codes, we went through the throttle and went out on a quick test ride, and the thing runs great. You can see on the soft tail here, I like to tuck it underneath the backbone here in front of the battery, and you can still get access to the buttons and to the dials. One of the really cool features about this thing is that you don't have to turn the bike off to make adjustments. If you want to do a quick test run down the road, especially if you're very familiar with tuning carburetors, this is a fantastic device because most guys that are really familiar with carburetors that don't have dynos know what good feels like. You know, and you can make very minor adjustments just simply by turning the dials and pressing the buttons in those different operating ranges, again, without even turning the motorcycle off. So it's real quick and easy to make those seat-of-the-pants adjustments while you're riding down the road. So again, thanks for watching the installation of the twin tuner on a Softail. Be sure to like the video if you do, subscribe if you haven't already for future updates, and we hope you have a great day. Ride safe.